Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons episode with myself and Sloth. And breaking news regarding Declan Rice: another club has come in. It's not the red side, which of my top would indicate it's actually the blue side. Manchester City have finally started to register their interest concretely, and they're expected to make a bid today or tomorrow potentially. It came out from Fabrizio and David Ornstein on Twitter this morning, so we'll go through where it kind of led us to now. So we started off with this one where we kind of expected Man City to join the race, and now Gundogan's pretty much gone to Barcelona. So now Man City are starting to move. But he did mention here that they would only bid if the player agrees to the move or being open to the move. He then tweeted very shortly after that they've decided to bid for Rice after calling West Ham last Friday, and they've also checked the player's side recently, and they understand Rice is open to any move. So now we have two teams in the race. We have Arsenal and we have Man City. So now it's going to come down to who's going to bring up that money first. And yeah, Rice's preference might not actually come into it. So, Sloth, what do you make of this? Did you expect this to happen? Was this just a matter of time, or are you kind of a bit surprised that this has come out today?
No, I think everyone expected it at some point. The fact that we knew Silva was potentially leaving City as well, but also Gundogan was his future was up in the air. I think as soon as we knew that those two players could potentially be leaving City, it kind of opened the door to the move. And with the sort of homegrown quota that they need, but also the fact that Phillips has been pretty much non-existent for them, I think most football fans would acknowledge that it's the logical move for them to get in someone like that. And I don't know how Arsenal compete with Manchester City. And, you know, Mike and I had a pretty heated discussion about this on the transfer show last night, just about how Arsenal have been acting and in terms of their conduct with the bid. And also, you know, Mike expressed some doubts about how the Rice family have been behaving during this. But I think in both a financial sense and also a, you know, success rate on the pitch, this isn't even a question. And there's only one choice you make here if you're Declan Rice and you want success.
Yeah, so it's kind of come out that Rice's obviously preferred move is to Arsenal. And, you know, it's only until now we've started to see a concrete interest from another club. I think the main factor with Arsenal is he wants to stay in London, and he's had that, you know, big talk with Arteta where he's basically said, I'm going to build a team around you. You know, you're going to be a future captain of the club. Arsenal's a big club as well. Let's not forget that. So the appeal of going there is still strong. It's still strong for any player. But having said that, when Man City come calling in the current Man City side with Pep Guardiola, you just cannot reject that if you have, like Declan Rice says, the ambition to win the biggest honours. And yes, he might win honours at Arsenal, but it's very unlikely that he'll win the same amount, if not the bigger honours that Man City are going to inevitably win in the next 2-3 seasons, that Rice would probably be there as a minimum. So there is no bid officially as of yet, as of recording, 3:00 on Thursday. It may come out later this evening that the bid does go in, but it's being rumoured that it will be around £75 million with 15 million in add-ons. We don't know how much of that is true, but I think it would be similar to what Arsenal offered, but with more realistic add-ons and a bigger chunk of money up front. So they'll probably pay the most of that 75 million within 2 years rather than the 5 to 6 years Arsenal are trying to propose. So from a logistical point of view, David Sullivan has the absolute ball in his court right now. He's held tight. Fair play to him. He didn't crumble at the first or second offer Arsenal brought in. Man City are now circulating. There's rumours of Man United in the background preparing something. So the bidding war that we expected to happen this summer is now happening. I think most West Ham fans have conceded that Rice will be leaving. So now it just comes down to where do you go? And if you're Rice, would you understand him choosing Arsenal over Man City given the current situation of both clubs?
No, I don't. I think it is an exciting project. However, it's not nearly as an exciting project as, say, if Man United came in for him, then I would kind of understand him going there over Arsenal, because, you know, Old Trafford is iconic. Don't get me wrong, the Emirates is great. I've been a number of times, but it's not the same. It's not even the same stratosphere of
I
kind
think
of.
right now, I would probably understand Rice picking Arsenal over United because of the situation of both clubs are in. But I think from, you know, historical point of view, obviously United's a massive club as well. So yeah,
I think the difference is that Man United have been competitive for the title for longer. For longer over the more recent period,
yeah,
and the element of, you know, City coming forward is obviously, they're by far the most dominant team in that city at the moment. I don't really see that changing. But even then, for me, I think playing at Man United is a much bigger thing to have on your CV than playing at Arsenal. Just my opinion.
In terms of the actual move itself, another question mark, if he was to go to City, is game time and where he would play. So there's been this debate on Twitter a lot that's saying, you know, he's going to be a guaranteed starter. They're building a project around him at Arsenal. If he goes to City, yes, he might have the opportunity to win trophies, but it might be similar to a Calvin Phillips situation. I don't agree with that at all. I think with Gundogan leaving, you know, Gundogan was a defensive midfielder by trade, and what Pep's done with him in the last however many years is make him that box-to-box 8 and, you know, a goal scoring 8. I can see him trying to do that with Rice as well. You know, I think Rice has those tools available to him, and under the coaching of Pep, he would exceed that, and he'd also have that defensive stability that he offers and the athleticism. And, you know, it looks like Pep's trying to build a more physical team. It looks like with the stuff that he's trying to implement, which is, you know, maybe away from what he would like to do on a technical point of view, but that's just the way the Premier League's evolving. It's becoming more physical, becoming more demanding. Rice fits into that mold very well. It's being rumoured now that Pep's going to sit down with Rice again and have an in-depth talk to try and convince him of that project. What would you be saying to Rice if you were Pep right now? Because there is that probably in the back of his mind that he's got that project with Arsenal in London, and it's very easy for him to go to Arsenal over Man City, where maybe he's not guaranteed as much game time.
I mean, if you're Pep Guardiola and you're, you know, I don't really think you have to sell yourself. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's playing with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Haaland, John Stones, Grealish, who, you know, you'll know them from the England setup in terms of he'll know them personally. So he's got a bit of that bond as well. Of course, he knows Saka, but you have players there with the likes of Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne. Like, these are generational footballers. And I'm sorry, but like, I mean, I think Saka's a fantastic talent. He is possibly generational, but that's the first generational player that they've had since Thierry Henry, maybe, in my opinion. I think it's a completely different kettle of fish. And if I'm Pep and I'm sitting down, I'm saying, look, I'm not going to promise to build a side around you, because this is the best side in the world at the moment. Yeah. This is the best side in Europe. And I cannot give you that guarantee. This isn't Arsenal. This is a step above Arsenal. If you want me to build a side around you, you have to prove that. You know, I think the idea of the three of Rodri, Rice, and KDB is, quite frankly, terrifying.
Yeah, it's got everything in that midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We know that we've said it many times on this channel that Rice isn't an all-out six in terms of sitting in that defensive mid spot. He does bound forward. He showed that a lot in the Conference League.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Pep, you say, look, we've just won the Champions League. We've won the treble. Do you want to try and win the quadruple? Do you want to try and take us to the next level? Because there isn't any reason why they can't compete to try and do it again next season. If you get in someone like Rice, you're saying to him, you know, show us your worth. You've got Calvin Phillips there as the backup again, but you're going to be my starting 11, and I want you to push to cement that spot. That's what I would say to him. But
yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, I think also from like a personal development point of view, if you were Rice, sometimes you might think going to a club like Arsenal, if it was, for example, Arsenal or Man City, but the coaching and the development plan at Arsenal was maybe clearer than City, then you'd think, okay, fair enough, for his stage of the career, maybe it makes sense to go there and then go on to that big jump. But it's actually not the case. Everything is set up for him at Man City. All it takes from him is relocation to Manchester. Does he want to do that? That's up to him. If he has ambitions to be the top player that he wants to be, it's a no-brainer, man. It's really a no-brainer for moving 3 hours up north for 3, 4, 5 seasons. You have to make sacrifices, and it's not the worst sacrifice in the world going to play for Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. So I would be surprised if he did pick Arsenal over Man City if the two offers were kind of accepted and he had these two options on his plate. Whether he does that, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But what do you guys think? Because it's a really interesting one now. We've got a battle on our hands for Rice. There is the small chance that he does stay at West Ham. Again, very, very small chance. I do not think that at all. I think his mind's made up. And it's pretty much been set in stone that this was the summer he was going to leave, and he's left on a high. So that being said, it's going to be a really interesting watch over the next few days over the weekend. Obviously, Rice is probably on holiday right now, so I'm not sure what talks are going to happen with him and Pep, but we'll keep you guys informed of anything that happens and anything that develops. Sloth, any final words with the whole Manchester City saga and the Rice saga heating up?
I think the interesting thing will be is how far Arsenal are willing to go with this money, with the money side of it and with the deal. Are they willing to try and go toe to toe with Manchester City? And, we have heard that it's 75 million pretty much, largely up front.
Yeah.
And then the 15 million in realistic add-ons. We've heard the complete opposite from the Arsenal side of things. Are they even going to try and compete with that? Because if I'm Declan Rice, for me, that's showing me just how much they value me as a player. I can also see City potentially upping the ante, and they may say, we'll keep the cash structure exactly as it is, but we'll give you a player. And if that's Harwood Bellis, if that is Palmer or Borges, then I think probably most people take that. I mean, if they were offering us Harwood Bellis, who's just absolutely shone in the Championship, he's probably already a £20 million player.
I was going to say, it takes the value way over 100 million, doesn't it, if a player goes into that?
So I think, that's probably what I'd be looking to push them towards. Whether Arsenal can match that with players and they can say, look, we can give you Balogun and potentially, I know they were talking about first dibs on Reece Nelson was potential, but he's out of contract. So they've got no say in that really. Maybe Tierney, but he's made of glass. So it's kind of, I personally, particularly with Timmy coming in, I think they'd be looking at the youngsters at City, unless Arsenal are willing to offer Balogun, and who for me is someone who really suits us. But it's exciting, and I think hopefully, touch wood, Sullivan has learned in the past from this kind of situation where a player perhaps wants to go. Someone like Payet is the extreme example where we knew we had big money bids from PSG, and in the end, we missed out on quite a lot of cash. Do we want to try and, wring out every last bit of cash we can, or do we want to maybe concede in certain areas? But in terms of the West Ham fan aspect, I think it's all just going off at the moment. It's quite fun to just sit back and watch and see certain fan bases overreacting, going into meltdown. And it's quite nice for us not to be that fan base for once.
Yeah, I think obviously for the club it's a great thing because the value is going up and it's kind of forcing Arsenal's hand. They were kind of trying to play this patient game, saying he only really wants to join Arsenal, so we can pay as little as we want and we'll get him for a kind of undercut fee. they don't really have that to play anymore. If they really want Rice, if he's really been their number one target since, you know, Christmas time, now is the time to show that to Rice and to West Ham and be serious, because Man City will be serious. I have no doubt about that. So it's heating up. We're going to keep you informed, and yeah, hopefully we'll have some more developments over the next few days. And let us know what you would do in the comments. If you were Declan Rice, would you choose Arsenal or would you go up to Manchester and play under Pep Guardiola? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And Sloth, until next time.
Come on, you irons.